What's going on, everybody? Ram Dean and Black with you, chatting about all the news going down in the world of combat sports. Got to talk about our guy, Mike Bisping. The Fight Network had a party in New York City. John Pollock talked to the middleweight champion. He says he wants to headline UFC 208, which is going down in Anaheim, California. And then the next time he loses, that could be it for the count. And if that is the case, what do you expect to unfold? What type of fights do you think are in the immediate future for Michael Bisping?
He did say he's eyeballing Weidman or Romero, the winner. Romero is somebody that we have seen do spectacular things, and then you saw him really slow down in some other fights. How has he addressed that? Because Weidman is going to push that. If Romero wins that, that's a super interesting fight. But Weidman is, I think, the top of the food chain at 185 pounds. I know Chris and Mike don't like each other.
Yeah.
I find them to be very similar in the way that they fight. One is kind of a loudmouth, and the other one is Mike Bisping. No. I think maybe it's just the way they kind of go through life or how they look at each other. It's odd because Chris is the type of guy who would want to respect everybody. Michael Bisping is not one of these people that you try to diminish and say he's not what he is. Michael Bisping's one of the great 185-pounders in the world. He's the champion of the world. He is always underestimated. He is always entertaining. But maybe Chris also realizes this is a little bit of mental warfare for him. You know, get under Mike's skin, although I don't know that that's what you want either.
If you're Michael Bisping, yes, you want to take on the best challenges, but at this stage of your career, you've already faced some of the best fighters. You faced the new age in Luke Rockhold, where you won your championship. You faced the legend in Anderson Silva, and everything in between. Let's just say he has 2 or 3 fights. Are the Jacares and the Yoel Romeros, are those the fights that Michael Bisping is looking for, or is he looking to have fights that are closer to his age, closer to the miles that he has, and fights that are going to make him a lot of money if he decides to step away?
I don't think he gets to pick that now. You get the Henderson fight, which is revenge. People are interested in it. Hendo was on his way out getting a shot at the title. That all made sense. It really did. Plus, Weidman was having surgery. Rockhold was injured. Romero was suspended, and there was something going on with Jacare, or maybe there wasn't. Unfair.
I think he was hurt, yeah.
Yeah, he was hurt. So you go into that one. That one made sense. But now you got to fight whoever the next guy is. And that's what Bisping wants anyways. But Bisping has never been a guy just kind of meandering through it. Wants the toughest fights, the biggest paydays, the biggest fights. He wants all that.
I mean, the UFC, though, they're also in the business of trying to make as much money as humanly possible. I don't know if the fight with Yoel Romero and I don't know if a fight with Jacare are those fights. We know we've seen the rubber match. We could see the rubber match between Luke Rockhold and Michael Bisping. That's a fight that can be sold. Is Chris Weidman, is that the fight? Or would the UFC just go pull something out of left field and say, hey, we're in California. You want to talk about big fights? Put on Nick Diaz versus Michael Bisping.
Yeah, Nick, we'd love that.
Or George.
That would be George is a possibility. I think it's either George or it is whoever has won those fights. And Joe Silva, people don't believe this when I repeat this about him, but he never cared who won. There wasn't like Joe Silva understands the chaotic nature of it. You can't see the future, and he's just like, well, whatever happens, we'll figure it out. I don't know if that'll change with the new matchmaking structure, but he's never cared. He never
But Rob, there has to be a certain reality, and the reality is on paper when you're getting the returns of your pay-per-views, and you have Stipe Miocic and you have Conor McGregor, who generates more money? It's like, well, it isn't even friggin' close. So who, as a promoter, is somebody trying to make money? Who do I want to be my champion? I think the answer is pretty clear.
Well, our opinions on this and our audience's opinions, these are the things we usually express, but sometimes you drop your opinion right out of it and look at it from their perspective, from the business company, and they're like, yeah, of course, we'd like to do X, Y, and Z. Why don't we put Nick Diaz in it? But they also have to, and they do, consider the long-term ramifications of having an audience that never buys into it, never believes in the structure of the sport itself. That's a conversation that has to be happening now, because everybody's excited to see these fights that are really fun, big money fights. Yay! They're going to sell a lot of pay-per-views. That's cool. We're all behind that. But eventually, people are like, look, that's the #1 guy in the world. Just because he doesn't speak English, or just because he doesn't say anything after his fights, or just because she's not pretty, she's still the #1. And that has to happen eventually. And Bisping's going to be that guy. Bisping's going to have to fight whoever the next guy is. This, hey, just make the biggest fights ever, can't go on forever. I'd like to see Nick Diaz fight Michael Bisping, but people won't have that. The guy hasn't had a clean win in years and years and has been suspended. So I'd love to see the fight. That's my opinion. But the audience audience eventually will rebel.
When you look at the UFC and their list of stars and their roster, do you believe that there's going to be a time in the sport when they're lacking stars and it just comes down to who the best fighters in the world are?
That would be cool, man. I'm a pure sport guy, and I'm a pure art guy, but that has never happened. One goes and somebody else pops up. It's been like that since the beginning. If and when there's ever like, actually, we're not interested in any of these people, I don't know that that'll last very long, but who knows?
Michael Bisping, though, will go down as one of the most exciting fighters in the world, and it is amazing that he happened to win the UFC Middleweight Championship of the World.